Welcome to Martinsville, Virginia. If you like old school short track racing, you've come to the right place. It's time for Bud Pole qualifying. We're halfway through our 10-race chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup. Before we qualify, we check in on pit road with Marty Snyder.
Well, Rusty Wallace has started 7th or better in 10 of his last 11 Martinsville races and 4th fastest in practice today, so it looks pretty good to keep that streak going, Rusty.
So far it looks good. We need to get out of this race with a good, clean run, and hopefully this will be the victory I've been looking for right here at Martinsville. Get some points and get a little farther up in the points in the chase, because we had a bad week last week at Charlotte. Had a real fast car. 5 laps to go, had a wreck, and I didn't anticipate that happening.
This has been always one of your favorite racetracks, and you said goodbye to a lot of racetracks this year, but I'm sure this one will be a little different on Sunday, won't it?
Probably so, because I've had a lot of wins. I've helped the track, designed the track, the shape of the surface, a lot of comments here, and Clay Campbell's one of my best friends who owns the place and runs it now. I guess IC owns it now, but used to own it, the family. And it's just one of the places that when I get to come here, I've got a little extra step in me. I really like it a lot. It's one of the grassroots short tracks that's still around, that's fun to run on.
7th in the championship. You were just saying 92 out, and there is time to get back up there, but how critical would a win this weekend play into you possibly winning the championship, Rusty?
It really help a lot, you know, Charles winning this championship. You know, we had the wreck at Talladega when the whole field wrecked again, and I got in that deal, and last weekend I thought I was looking good, and I sailed it off down into turn 2, making a desperation move to pick a couple of spots out. We just can't rebound from loose lug nuts, and coming up through there, and I got a little loose, and a car packed it in 3 wide on the bottom, and that just killed everything, and had a big wreck, and that was a big problem, and lost a lot of points. But hey, you know, I went into the race. One way to look at it, though, I went into that race 92 out, and I came out of it 92 out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know how the heck that happened, you know, but it did.
For this weekend's race, Rusty has brought a brand new race car. Told me it's fast both in race and qualifying trim, guys.
Thanks a lot, Marty. And Rusty Wallace, guys, has led over 3,600 laps on this racetrack. Now, about this speedway, the numbers don't lie. 82 of 109 races on this racetrack have been won from inside a top 10 starting position.
Well, it's a short track, and it's hard to pass. And I think that's one reason Jeff Gordon has had a lot of success here. 25 starts, he has 6 wins, but he has started in the top 10 17 times. And when you start up front, you can run your own pace. You do not have to overwork your equipment in the beginning. And besides, one of the toughest pit roads on the circuit, you get that premium pit selection if you happen to qualify on the Bud Pole.
Jeff, looking at practice, the entire field separated, or first through 40 is separated by less than half of a second.
Less than a half of a second, and that's what always happens when you come to Martinsville, Virginia. Very tight racing, very tight on the times also, Steve. But as Rusty Wallace was kind of pointing out, very important right now. We're halfway through this chase for the championship. Talked to several crew chiefs and a couple team managers today that are involved in this chase. They pointed out to me, said, Hammond, we have got to keep it close with these leaders. And I said, how close can you be, guys, as far as rolling into Homestead, and how important is it going to be this weekend? We can't be any further, they don't think, than 25 points back if they want to have a shot at winning the championships. It starts this weekend. It starts today in qualifying, guys, because you've got to get yourself a good qualifying position here to be able to make up points or hold on to what you got.
And just remember, this is not an impound race, so there's a lot of effort being put in qualifying. And I hate those guys that say qualifying's not important. You better believe it's important at this place.
It absolutely is here. Now, let's take a look at the point standings. As we said, 5 races down, 5 to go in the chase for the 2005 NASCAR Nextel Cup. Guess what? Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson tied for the lead. 6 drivers changed positions after Lowe's Motor Speedway a week ago.
And you look at guys like Greg Biffle and Ryan Newman, they're taking advantage of it. Solid runs last week at Lowe's, 11 and 17 points behind. Even though Ryan may have slipped back a little bit, it tightened up as far as the points are concerned, and that's really what's important.
What I see, the moral of the story with 5 to go, we got ourselves a chase for this championship.
We got ourselves a barn burner,
yes,
my friend.
Sir.
There they are, 92 points separating first from 7th, our Aqua Velva Nextel Cup point standings. We'll be back and have Bud Pole qualifying from the half-mile Martinsville Speedway. You're watching Speed. Hope you're having a great Friday, everybody. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Bud Pole qualifying from the Martinsville Speedway is brought to you by Stay, now playing only in theaters. By Nextel, helping NASCAR groups get things done. NASCAR and Nextel, partners in speed. And by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR. Getting set for Bud Bowl qualifying here at the Martinsville Speedway. We expect 48 drivers to clock in here this afternoon. Tony Stewart was the quickest in practice. Dale Jarrett will be the first to take to the racetrack. And with that, we go to Bob Dillner.
Well, Carl Edwards, one of the early guys to go out here in qualifying, 21st quick in the only practice session of the day. But, Carl, Martinsville hasn't been all that kind to you in only a couple of trips here, so how about this time around?
Yeah, I haven't been too kind to the racetrack or the walls around here either, so a lot of it's been my making. You know, I've had mistakes. I crashed in practice. You know, last time we were here, I had a problem with the steering. I let the car back up and got in, you know, in front of Hermie Sadler, so I've caused a lot of the problems. I've been working really hard as a driver to try to be better at it. We've got an awesome car, Office Depot Ford, practiced really well. We worked on race trim, went to qualifying trim, and it was fairly decent. So this is hopefully a turning point. I want to keep those top 10s coming. This will be a great one to do it at.
I talked to your teammate Greg Biffle just a short time ago. He goes out fourth. He said, you know what, even though we have cement corners here, I still do not like going out early. How about you?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't have enough experience to know if going early is worse or later. I know I've seen a lot of guys go really fast late in the past, so, you know, I don't think that's going to be the thing that defines our qualifying run. I think it's going to be how well I can get through the center and how well I can get off the corner and get to the gas early. I don't think that the track's going to be my limiting factor.
You know, a couple guys in the garage area were telling me, you know what the secret is here? You don't have a top 20 finish here. You got to have one of those Martinsville hot dogs, those pink hot dogs.
Hey, whatever it takes. I need an excuse to go eat a good hot dog, you know. I've been trying to be as healthful as I can be and healthy, and that might be all right. I'll go get a hot dog. That'll work.
There you go, Marty. He's having a hot dog.
Ricky Rudd, third fastest in practice, Bob, and the early draw, will that be a disadvantage and maybe take you out of a shot at the pole?
You know, Marty, we'll have to wait and see, but I tell you, I don't remember in recent years it making a big difference one way or the other. I wouldn't want to be first, and first might be okay, but it used to be for many years you'd want to have a late draw. But I don't think we've seen that play out here too much recently. I think it's going to be pretty fair for everyone.
Well, your race team has run so well, Ricky, of late, back-to-back top 10 finishes, and you come to one of your best racetracks at Martinsville. Got to feel the momentum building, don't you?
Well, really do. This is a car I think we ran 7th or 8th with earlier in the season, and came up here the other day, and I think we got elected because nobody wanted to run 700 laps of practice, and that's what we did for Goodyear the other day. And I don't know that we learned anything. We certainly ran a lot of laps and learned where every little bump and low spot is in the racetrack, I guess, but it was good just to have a good tune-up, and I think it's helped us here today.
Man, 700 laps, how long did it take to get that done? That's hard to do in 2 days, isn't it?
We did it in 2 days, and it was very busy.
All right, before we get run over, I think we better end this interview as Joe Nemechek's car is coming through the hole here, Steve.
All right, thank you very much, Marty Snyder. Ricky Rudd will be making his 53rd start on this half-mile Martinsville Speedway, and the track record is in jeopardy as 10 drivers bettered the mark earlier today. Dale Jarrett up next. Tonight on Speed Trackside, live from Martinsville with the chase for the Cup heating up. The Speed Stage is the place to be. Join Rusty Wallace, Jeff Hammond, Larry Mack, and yours truly. We are joined by Jeff Gordon, Ryan Newman, and Darrell Waltrip. That's Trackside live tonight in Martinsville at 7, only on Speed. Yes, Mr. Hammond.
Huh? Walter's going to be there?
Yes, he is.
You didn't tell me that.
He is. Are you still going to show up?
I got to think about that one.
Okay. He's going to be talking about his 4th annual, this is my last race.
Well, it is not the last race for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's go to Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, he's been the short track king the past year, scoring more points than any other driver on the short tracks. 25th quick junior this morning in practice. How much can you pick up, and do you have a shot at the pole?
I don't know if we have a shot at the pole. We got to pick up a lot. This car, we've struggled with it all day today. And, man, we really need that practice in the morning. I hope the weather's good tomorrow because we need every minute to try to get this thing better. We changed a lot of stuff on it, and we're going for it. So we'll see what we got.
We'll see what he has here. As you heard, he changed a bunch of stuff on this race car. Junior has finished in the top 5 here in 5 of the last 7 races.
You know, one of the challenges of this racetrack, you heard Ricky Rudd talking about track conditions. It's pretty cool up here. It's overcast, and I'm like Ricky. I just do not think that this racetrack is going to change. But it's hard to get heat in the tires. That's a secret to running fast. They actually give you 3 laps here of qualifying because they go out over here. Basically, in turn 2 is where they'll go on the racetrack. They give you a full lap before you take the green flag. I think we'll see most of the quick laps on the final laps simply because of heat in the the tires.
Jeff, it is hard for me to comprehend as we see the drivers who have got to get in on their speeds. Jeff, it's hard to comprehend the fastest driver in practice, Tony Stewart, and the driver who was 40th, Stanton Barrett, separated by less than half of a second. Less.
But that's what the competition at this level of racing is all about. Anytime you come to the short tracks where most of these drivers have grown up, Steve, that is when I think the fields get so much tighter, and it goes back to the driver himself. Most of these guys say as much as they hate racing with 43 cars on a half-mile racetrack, they love short track racing because it's the driver and what he can do behind the wheel. As we take a look at Dale Jarrett right now, coming around and kind of getting his car warmed up, getting ready to take the green flag.
And Larry Mack, we saw the graphic of the drivers who have to qualify in on their speed and time. That makes it even tougher for them.
Well, it does, because what you got to be careful, you don't want to get lured into how good you are, because some of these fast laps, they may have been on the 8th, 9th, or 10th lap of a run, but now you've got to get it done in 3 laps on that 3rd lap of your final lap of qualifying.
Now, Larry, I want to point out, we can already hear on the 88 car Dale Jarrett, you start off in the corner. You'll hear this a lot during this qualifying session. The rev limiter coming in as it goes down the back straightaway. You hear this little, right there, just a little bit of it. What breaks up the electronic ignition and lets the driver know that he's turned so many RPMs, now it's time to get out of the gas.
Well, essentially what you're saying is they've got way more horsepower than they need.
That's the biggest thing we would use the rev limiter here for, is to give that driver a gauge about, hey, it's time to roll out of the throttle, because this place is notorious for a driver over-driving the entrance of the corner.
He picked up about a 10th over what he had practiced at earlier on. He's running 1967. Like I say, is about a 10th quicker. He actually run his best lap on his first lap, Larry, which is a little surprising. Second lap, I mean, within 1/1000th of a second of his first.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. just told Bob Dillner they need practice tomorrow. There is rain in the forecast, 60% chance of showers. It's been overcast here all day. Temperatures right around the 70-degree mark.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. was 25th quickest in practice. Again, this is not an impound race. These guys had a normal 2-hour practice about 2 hours ago to get ready for this qualifying session. His time was a 1962.
I got a chance to talk to his crew chief earlier on, Tony Uri Jr., and he was pretty optimistic that they were going to get this car going like it needed to be. Similar to what they've run in years past. Ronnie Hopkins, who builds a lot of race cars for a lot of these teams. This is Ronnie Hopkins' car here that Dale Jr. is driving right now, and they're trying to sort all the bugs out. It really felt like it would be the kind of car that would allow him to get back on that short track run that he's been so good at here lately as far as scoring points. And right now he's faster than Dale Jarrett. Green light showing right now.
Larry, he just ran a 1958, the track record set by Ryan Newman a year ago, 1951.
Well, there's no question that track record is probably going to fall, and it's going to fall several times. And we have the same tire that we had here in the spring. It's basically the same racetrack, but I think that just shows you how much technology is gained by these teams from the spring race to the fall race.
Bob Dillner, understand you have news on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s teammate, Michael Waltrip.
That's right. Michael Waltrip, like Dale Earnhardt Jr., hoping it does not rain here because he needs practice. He wrecked his primary car in this morning's practice session, and they did not get this set up on that Napa 15 for qualifying. So NASCAR has excused him, but he is really hoping to get that practice session to get that 15 dialed in tomorrow before Sunday's race, and he'll have to start in the back.
But he's certainly one of the ones that's glad this is not an impound race, because they will get those, weather permitting, 2 45-minute practice sessions tomorrow.
You just saw Bobby Labonte has a pole here at Martinsville. He also has a win, but in the top 5 finishers 4 times.
And he's the only driver to win in all 3 series here. He won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race here in the spring. He's won in the Busch Series here, which the Busch Series is coming back here next year.
That is good news.
And he's won in the Nextel Cup as well here.
Got a little bit loose right there in the middle of 2. We do have a green light showing right now. His first lap looked like the car was not hooking up at all, but he's, as far as coming up the speed lap, that is, but looking pretty good right now, guys.
And he is the quickest of the 3 drivers
with a new track record. Looks like possibly this second lap will not be as quick as that first lap.
And Larry, what I've been noticing so far, our first 3 qualifiers, their first lap has been the best. You got both of us. We're talking off camera. We expected the second lap to be the quickest.
Simply because of heating the tires.
Exactly.
Bob Dillner with a former Nextel Cup champion. Excuse me, Marty Snyder.
That's all right. Dale Jr. and Dale Jarrett talking things over. And you never made a qualifying run in practice, so how was your first qualifying run of the day, DJ?
It went pretty good. We made some changes. We actually just scuffed in our qualifying tires, and so in practice, that was pretty good. The car drove good. I was pretty happy with that. We did a lot of race stuff, and I think we figured out a little bit what we need to do. Hopefully it'll be good enough for 500 laps on Sunday.
He told the crew after the lap, he said, that was better than practice. It was my fault. I got to the back to the gas too late coming off turn 2.
Thank you, Marty. Greg Biffle, 11 points behind Tony Stewart and Greg Biffle. This has not been a good racetrack for him.
Has not been a good racetrack for him, but he believes they came up here and tested. And Doug Richards said this was a car, an old car that had been sitting around the shop forever. They pulled it out, rebodied the thing, brought it up here, tested, and Greg said the car rotates like it wants, like he needs for it to. The key thing for him is not to overdrive it and wear out the brakes or get himself in trouble with the brakes. That's his key issue as far as Martinsville is concerned this weekend.
First lap, 1961 for Greg, puts him third quickest. But Dale Jarrett had an interesting point. This may be, Jeff, why these guys are maybe getting that first lap in as a pretty good lap. He talked about scuffing the qualifiers. That means they put brand new sticker tires on near the end of practice and went out and just rode around to knock the newness off those sticker brand new tires. So that's probably helping qualifying a little bit on the first lap.
So Greg Biffle, third of 4 drivers qualifying here at the Martinsville Speedway. Mark Martin coming your way in just a little bit here on Speed. Back in Martinsville for Bud Pole qualifying here on Speed. Travis Quapple in the Kodak Jasper Dodge.
He was pretty quick in practice, 6th quickest, and remember it was a year ago he qualified in the top 10 in his very first Nextel Cup start. Interesting story about Travis Quapple and his race team is of course, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Travis and co-owner Doug Bobble of this car made a donation to the American Cancer Society. So the number 77 pit crew, the over-the-wall gang, they each gave $1,100 each from their bonus program, which obviously totals over $7,000. So the total donation from this race team, including the pit crew, over $20,000 for the breast cancer awareness. Pretty neat story.
Absolutely. Great story.
I think every time that we think about NASCAR competitors, crewmen, whatever, they're always willing to stand up and give basically until almost it hurts to help people out.
This is another one of the race teams that elected to come up here and test. A lot of teams tested for this race, Jeff.
Because they know how important it is, and qualifying is right up there with it. You see Travis Quapple, he picks it up on the second lap, Larry, first guy to do so, and moves himself up to second fastest right at the moment.
Bobby Labonte still the quickest. Mark Martin has 3 poles and 2 wins here on the half mile. He's with Bob Dillner.
And he has not been happy with his car so far here today. But, Mark, your team has gone to work on this thing. How is she going to be in qualifying?
Well, that's not our specialty. We're just going to get us what we can. The car, we made some big improvements on the car toward the end of the practice there. And so we made some big gains. I don't expect it to be, some probably around 20th. But last time in the race here, we qualified 19th and ran 3rd, led the race, and had a shot at it. So that's what we're hoping to do again this time.
Mark Martin struggling with brakes here today, Marty.
Well, Greg Biffle kind of thinking about his lap, and you're thinking not so good, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's just as fast as the car would go, you know. Got the throttle good, you know, got in the corner good, got to, you know, broke real late down in the corner, but it's all she had. It's just something that we do here just isn't quite, you know, like what everybody else does, and we've been having trouble figuring that out. But you know, that's unfortunate. I think we'll probably be about 30th to that lap time or so. You know, track will probably continue to pick up speed, so we'll see what happens.
You guys talked about teams testing here. Greg's team did that. 400 laps. He said, you know, 400 laps in testing, I still can't get this place right.
And this is a tough place to get around, Marty Snyder. Larry, Jeff, we just heard moments ago talking about brakes. And Larry, you're famous for saying 500 laps. That means you're on the brakes 2,000 times.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and we're going to talk a lot about that in the final practice tomorrow. The guys on the broadcast on NBC will be talking a lot about it on Sunday, because this is like 2 drag strips. And you jump on the throttle, you get to the end of the straightaway, you dive on the brake pedal, you roll off, and trust me, it will always be an issue with a lot of race teams here over the course of the weekend.
Edwards in the Office Depot, number 99, one of 5 drivers from Roush Racing in the chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup with 5 races remaining.
You know, the other unique thing about this racetrack is we go to some concrete racetracks like Dover, Delaware, Bristol, Tennessee. We obviously go to asphalt racetracks. Look at this racetrack here. It's concrete in the corners. When you come off the corner and get on the exit up on the straightaway, you're back to asphalt. They put these concrete in the corners many years ago because the modified cars would come here and they were biting so hard they would just rip the asphalt up. So rather than concrete the entire racetrack, they put concrete in the corners.
So, Jeff, how difficult does that make your job as a crew chief to set that race car up? Is it a challenge?
It is a challenge, but since the last time they redid the track, they actually brought the concrete further up on the straightaway, which actually helped a lot. At one time, it was a real short area of concrete. The transformation from concrete to asphalt was a big problem. So take a look at Jack Roush show. Basically the owner of the 99 car, and keeping an eye on the young man, Carl Edwards. Again, he struggled here, and a lot of what goes on here at this racetrack, in my opinion, is these cars have so much horsepower, they've got so much great braking capability that a lot of these drivers, when they start trying so hard, they get themselves in trouble. Tire spin, overdriving the corner, making a nose shove up. The drivers themselves, a lot of times, will take a lot of blame for putting themselves in some of these situations because it's so easy to do. And Carl Edwards, he makes a really good laugh right there and winds up third as we take a look at Jimmy Johnson and his win last week.
4th win in a row at the Lowe's Motor Speedway for Jimmy Johnson. That's an amazing accomplishment.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's fantastic what this team was able to accomplish, especially and all the adversity went on at Lowe's last week.
Well, and I think the thing about it, Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson, they knew the elements going in. And remember, they had to start at the rear of the field because of the engine change before qualifying, and they did exactly what they planned. They raced the racetrack, the elements, for about 450 of those 500 miles, and then when everyone else had fallen by the wayside, they got down to business.
After 31 races and 5 races in the chase for the Cup, Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart are tied for the lead.
Got a green light right here.
Jimmy was 18th quickest in practice earlier at 1956. He goes to the top of the charts first lap, 1944. Of course, the winner here 1 year ago, that's his only short track win in his almost 4-year career.
And Larry, I think you'll agree, this is a kind of racetrack. It takes a few times coming back here to kind of get the rhythm and understand that you got to race this racetrack a lot like they did last week at Lowe's. So it may be a good education from what happened last week and what they're going to need to do this week.
He picked it up on lap 2.
So Jimmy Johnson, the quickest here in Bud Pole qualifying. There's another one of your chasers, Matt Kenson. He's coming up right after this. Bud Pole qualifying continues here on speed at the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia. That's Mike Bliss in the 0 car.
A lot of rumors circulating around this driver in this race car, and as I walk through the garage here, I think here over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to see a lot of, not driver changes for this year with only 5 races to go, but I think a lot of the pieces of the puzzle will start falling in place looking towards 2006.
And Larry, to kind of like add on to that, Mike Bliss was hanging around one of those cars, and he's been, they're kind of courting him. He's going to be leaving his 0 car, pretty sure about all that. But the team he's going to be driving for, he was hanging around him just a little bit this morning.
You and I must have been watching the same thing.
I'm seeing the same thing, my friend.
Do you care to share where he was hanging around, or?
Could be. Maybe a little early in the season.
Yeah,
maybe a little early.
Maybe when the car comes up to qualify, we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Okay.
It hasn't qualified yet, I'll put it that way.
Thank you.
Mike's only going to be 8th quickest out of the 9 cars that have attempted to qualify.
Jimmy Johnson breaks a track record. He is the quickest, and we go to Marty Snyder.
Well, before him, Carl Edwards went out on the racetrack and said, you know, these guys get hard on the gas pedal. We talk about that. Carl broke the gas pedal. What did you say? I broke the gas pedal?
Yeah, I just bent the little stop that we've got there. I screwed up the first lap. The guys did such a good job. It gripped so much. I was turning to the curb, and so I thought I'm going to get it all. And the second lap came off turn 2, and I just, like an idiot, I'm pushing too hard on the pedal, I guess, and it bent past the stop and kind of wedged back there. And I got to the corner. I didn't know if it was going to come back or not, and it did, but it just goofed me up. But the guys did an awesome job. I shouldn't be pushing that hard on.
He said that scared me to death when that happened, guys. Bob?
In the last 14 races, Brian Vickers with only 2 finishes outside the top 15, and that means you've been patient. And I know patience is key here at Martinsville, Brian.
Yeah, patience is always the key, especially last weekend. But yeah, it's a good string of runs for us. Hopefully we can keep that up here at Martinsville. Came up here and tested with Goodyear. Was real happy with the test. So far, so good. Practice went well. We just got to back it up.
And he's got to try to beat his teammate who's on top of the board.
And you've heard a lot of these guys talk about testing up here for Goodyear. You heard Ricky Rudd talk about it. We heard Brian Vickers. What Goodyear did a couple of weeks ago, they brought several teams up here, not necessarily trying to improve the tire for this year. This is the same tire we ran here in the spring, but looking towards 2006, possibly making a change for this racetrack.
You'll see a lot more of that before the season's all said and done, because NASCAR, as well as Goodyear, have got to start thinking about 2006 and what they're going to need to make these guys have more competitive racing and safer conditions as far as tires are concerned.
Jeff Joey McCarthy is the slowest of 10 drivers. Jimmy Johnson is the quickest, and he's with Marty.
Yeah, and Stevie said it could have been even quicker. You said, man, guys, I messed up that second lap. Sorry. What happened?
The car handled so well. When I went into 1 and 2 on the money lap, I kind of let off the brake earlier, rolled through. It was great. Tried it in 3 and 4, and I just carried too much speed and got the car sideways and had to dirt track it up off of 4. So I'm pretty sure there's a 20 out there that the 20 car could possibly get, or the 12 or the 24, somebody that's really good qualifying. You know, it's a big pickup for us. The guys made great adjustments to the car from our race practice setup that we practiced today with, and we're flying in race trim. We're faster in race trim than qualifying trim, so now we picked up like we're supposed to. Los Monte Carlos in good shape.
The defending winner of the race, currently fastest.
All right, thank you, Marty. And Larry Mack, you were talking about Jimmy Johnson's first visit to Victory Lane. It was in April of 2002. He already has 18 wins in his short career.
Has a top 10 finish at every racetrack on the circuit already.
Another driver with a bright future, the youngest winner in Nextel Cup history, Kyle Busch.
Boy, did Kyle look like he appeared to have the car to beat last week at Lowe's Motor Speedway. And I talked to his crew chief, Alan Gustafson. He said we kind of let Kyle judge how hard he needed to run the car. He said, obviously, we overstepped the boundary. And I just want to say this. I strongly feel like that Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and trust me, I've beat them up in my career, but they were the sacrificial lamb last week. That was just the grip of the racetrack, and they didn't have time to respond with a tire that would accept that much grip and those type of speeds for that length of time.
Kyle Busch, 7th quick. Jimmy Johnson is your pole sitter. He set a new track record. We'll be back with more Bud Bowl qualifying after this.
The chase for the Nextel Cup at the halfway point. Matt Kenseth, 9th in the standings. We're at Martinsville. And Matt, this has always been one of the toughest tracks for you. How about here in qualifying today?
Probably be more of the same. We haven't been running very good today at all. So we did work on race trim in case it rains tomorrow. Made a qualifying run then, didn't run very fast. So just go and do the best we can. I think we made some progress on it during practice, but we started off being the worst car and got it, tuned up to be mid-pack somewhere. So hopefully we can get some practice tomorrow and try to get a little bit better.
He does have 3 top 10 finishes here, guys, but why do some guys run better here and others not?
I mean, this is basically like a road course. I mean, we've seen drivers that come here, they pick up on this place, they understand about the fine line between overdriving and underdriving, and trust me, it's a fine line that's about as thick as a razor blade.
Larry Mack, I go back to a guy you knew very well, the late, great Davey Allison. The first time I ever saw him race here, he must have spun out 8 times.
Oh, yeah, and we burned the brakes off that thing in 200 laps. So, but we came up here and tested for 2 days, over 700 laps, a lot like Ricky Rudd, and finally we figured it out. Slower is faster.
Floater in.
Floater in right there, and you take a look at Mark Martin, who just got through qualifying. He's going to be 10th quickest, and as Mark said, car's not very fast as far as qualifying is concerned, but he should be good in the race. This man knows how to finish up here. 21 top 10 finishes in 39 races.
And make sure you tune in the speed next Saturday from Atlanta, Georgia, where if his starter will work in that IROC car, he will claim his 5th IROC championship. $1 million.
$1 million to go along with it. That's right.
Jeff Burton knows how to get around this place. 22 starts, 8 top 5 finishes, and a win, although never a pole sitter.
Pretty neat. This coming Monday, Jeff will participate in the re-enlistment of a Joe Gallagher. He's a chief operations specialist in the U.S. Navy. He's already served 13 years in the Navy, including deployment for Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraq Freedom. He's going back in again, and Jeff's going to be part of that re-enlistment.
It's quite an honor for both of those men.
Jeff was only 32nd quickest in practice early on. Let's see what he can do here on his first lap so he can pick it up a little bit.
He's got work to do from that lap, 1973.
Well, that's a little bit quicker than what he practiced at. So, I mean, again, that's how far off he was. So he needs a little bit more. Another 10th would make a huge difference right now. Pick him up probably about 4 or 5 spots.
He got off turn 4 pretty good. In fact, he picked up quite a bit of positions right there. He goes up to 6th quickest on lap 2, picks up almost a 10th and a half.
That's what he needed.
6 out of 13 drivers qualifying here at the Martinsville Speedway. 49 drivers are entered for only 43 positions. Heard from Ricky Rudd at the top of the show. Quite a record here. You see right there, 4 poles in 52 races. He's also got 3 wins.
It's a Ricky Rudd type of a racetrack. Smooth, nice and easy.
You know, I was in their pits here in the spring, and he was in the top 10, hovering around the top 5 all day. All day. I mean, he was never really a factor for the win, but he was just right there. So consistent every single lap.
And what you brought out right there, consistency. When you look at short track racing, road course racing, Ricky Rudd is so smooth. That's one of the reasons I think why he excels so well here. He knows how to brake, he knows how to, as you say, float the car in, make it rotate in the center of the corner, and you roll back in that throttle, spin the tires up off the corner.
And Jeff, you've made the point many times that this racetrack, you know, it looks serene, it's in a nice little neighborhood, but it's tough on equipment, it's tough on the drivers.
Hey,
1932 on lap 1.
Get you some of that for a new track record, my friend.
And it was all getting off the corner. He actually would lose a little ground right in the middle of the corner right here, but the minute he picked the throttle up, the car took a good set and a good bite, and he could lunge off the corner, and that's what allowed him to run that 1932.
Track record holder, baby.
That was Fatback.
Yeah. I think he's a little excited.
So we'll see.
You're the man, Ricky Rudd. Go, man. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the car.
We'll see if Ricky Rudd will hang on for his 5th career pole on this half-mile racetrack after these messages. NASCAR Bud Pole qualifying for the Martinsville Speedway is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR, and proud sponsors of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car. Right now, Ricky Rudd is the quickest trying to win the Bud Pole. Number 66, Hermie Sadler, another Virginian on the racetrack.
Now, this is the race team that Hermie Sadler ran the first 12 races of this year with, and then they parted companies. Of course, Kevin LePage has been in this car, and he'll actually be in at the final 4 races, but Hermie had the sponsorship. This is Hermie's home state, Virginia. He had the sponsorship, so he's back in the 66 car for a 1-race deal. His first lap is 20 flat, which will put him 13th of the 14 cars that's went out. And this is one of those go or go home cars. He's going to pick it up there on lap 2 a little bit, but he's only going to be 14th quickest. So they're going to have to.
It's going to be kind of a little bit of nail biting going on there.
Absolutely. I'm just not sure a 1988 is going to quite get it.
Well, Marty Snyder, what does Ricky Rudd think about a 1932?
Well, you know, I asked him, Steve, and he said it was a fairly uneventful lap, but that's a good thing in Martinsville, isn't it?
Yeah, the car has just really been hooked up since we've been here. Fatback, McSwain, everybody on this motorcraft team has done a super job. Yates horsepower under the hood, Roush Yates horsepower, but, I mean, the car just has been making so much grip since we've been here today. We ran very good in practice. I think we were on top of the speed charts for a long time and then slipped back to 3rd. We still got some guys we're going to have to deal with, but I'm just happy we're able to go out there and run a little quicker than we ran in practice. A lot of times at Martinsville, you run fast in practice because the tires are warm. You go out there in a qualifying lap and everybody slows up a little bit, so at least we went the right direction. I was going to hold up, but I'm real happy with these guys.
I think the boys in the booth are a little curious. Did you lose a little bit off turn 2 on the 2nd lap?
Well, I nudged the curb just a little bit. The car stuck so good, but you know, all day long, they give you, it's almost, you get 3 laps to get 2, and every time today, every time we went out, our middle lap was our fastest, and I certainly hope it didn't give up anything. I'll be if we get beat by a 10th or 100th or something, I'll be real upset. Cause I mean, it nudged the curb and it probably delayed the car a little bit, but the second lap wasn't nowhere near the first lap. No, we might have lost a few hundredths, but not much more than that.
And Ricky told me he's just as confident in this car in race trim as he is in qualifying trim. Currently fastest.
I want to tell you what, no matter where that ends up, it's going to be near the front of the field. As Kenny Schrader's going to end up 10th quickest, and you know, we talked about a driver hanging out in a certain garage here earlier, so yeah, you just got to add it all up here.
Right. Okay, I see where you boys are going. I got you. All right, let's go back down to pit road and Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, NASCAR officials checking out the 29 car of Kevin Harvick for the second time. They had an issue going through tech with the tread width going actually on the front end. It was way too wide, so they had to pull off the right front tire and put a smaller spacer on there, guys. So I'm going to throw this back to the crew chiefs and tell me about what's going on here.
Well, the wider you can run the tread width, which is the width of the front or the rear, the wider you can run it, the better the car is going to grip. It's like a table with a wider stance. So NASCAR mandates that you can only be so wide, and you have wheel spacers between the wheel and the brake rotor hat that will allow you to make it wider, and NASCAR's monitoring it closely, especially here at a short track, and they're making them pull some of those wheel spacers off.
And guys, just remember right now, he's without his regular crew chief, Todd Barrier, who has been suspended for the next 2 races. Now, they appealed it, and he's been at the previous races as far as like last week at Lowe's until this appeal had gone through, but the appeal was denied this past week, so Todd is not here, and they're working without him on the 29 car.
Meanwhile, Mike Wallace is on the racetrack in the 4-car. Morgan Shepherd is on the 5-minute clock. He has missed his qualifying slot. Ricky Rudd is on the pole. Mike Wallace, 11th fastest here at the Martinsville Speedway. We'll be right back. Tomorrow on Speed, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series takes the battle to Martinsville. DW is firing up the engine one more time, but for Dennis Setzer and Ted Musgrave, Ted is the one to worry about. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series live from Martinsville tomorrow at 1 only on Speed. Let's take a look at the point standings in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and there we said it. Ted Musgrave just 5 points behind Dennis Setzer.
And it was not that many races ago, they were already engraving the trophy with Dennis Setzer's name. And in 5 races, it's 5 weeks in a row. These guys will be a companion event with the Nextel Cup cars the remaining part of their season.
With the season finale in Homestead, Florida. Front row Joe Nemechek on the racetrack in the Army Chevrolet.
And I want to talk about this group right here quickly. They finished 4th at Lowe's as he ends up 3rd quickest on lap 1. I just don't think it was documented enough what those guys did last week to do that. Not only overcoming the elements of Lowe's Motor Speedway and the tire situation, they changed batteries twice under caution. And kept that car on the lead lap. They had to get the free pass one time. They had alternator problems, so big attaboy to Ryan Pemberton in that group.
Thanks for the follow-up, Larry. We go to Bob Dillner, who is with one of our point leaders, co-point leaders.
That's right. Tony Stewart Smoke climbing into his Home Depot car here at the Martinsville Speedway. Quickest in this morning's practice session, but Jimmy Johnson put up a good lap. How about it, Tony?
Yeah, we just got to see what we can do. I mean, both Jimmy and Ricky have put up good laps now. It's just a matter of trying to see if we can gain as much as Ricky did.
We'll see what Tony Stewart does. This car, though, guys, has run 4 times this year and has led 53% of the laps in the races that it has competed in.
And he definitely had the car to beat here in the spring race. Led almost half of that race, and they had the lug nut loose, and the wheel ran off, and didn't end up with a very good finish that day.
Not a very good finish, but the last few races up here, Tony Stewart has been able to get that number 20 car hooked up and be one of the top cars each race, and I don't think it's going to be any different this weekend. Look for him to make a good, solid, strong qualifying run here in a second.
Now, we just saw Kyle Petty about a half a lap ago. Actually, when he went into turn 3, he slid the left front. We talked about these guys getting on the brakes. He slid the left front the last time getting into turn 3. Looked a lot smoother and better that time in there.
His dad, the all-time winner here at Martinsville, the king, Richard Petty, 15 visits to victory lane.
And this will be Kyle's 50th career Martinsville start.
Can you imagine all those clocks going off at one time, guys? Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo.
And just in case you don't know, they give the winner of this race here a grandfather clock.
Probably one of the most sought-after trophies that there happens to be on the Nextel Cup circuit.
Good lap right there for Kyle Petty. 6th quickest right there at a 19:53.
But it's a Kyle Petty style of a racetrack. Float the thing in, let it roll through the middle, and pick the throttle off, drive off the corner.
Smooth laps turned in by Kyle Petty. That number 45, now the 07 of Dave Blaney.
And if you notice also, Petty colors here at Martinsville.
15 wins for the King.
15 wins.
We found out last weekend at Lowe's Motor Speedway that Dave Blaney will not be in the 07 next year. Clint Boyer will move up from Richard Childress Racing's Busch Series program to take over that ride.
Well, he's not actually going to move up from the Busch Series programs. He's going to run both circuits next year, a lot like Carl Edwards is doing. And I know that Jack Daniels just extended its contract with Richard Childress Racing through 2009. So good news for this race team on the sponsorship side. Dave was 34th quickest in practice earlier at a 1976.
So let me get this straight. You have Mike Bliss, perhaps, in the 49, both of you. Was that the hint you gave me?
We just saw him hanging out in the garage, Jerry, talking to crew chief David Hyder quite a bit earlier.
Okay, well,
that's right.
And that raises another question. Kenny Schrader.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to tune in or listen to Ray Dunlap very closely on the Truck Series race.
Cold,
there is going to be some changes right there going on, my friends.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. Dave Blaney, 8th thus far of 20 drivers qualifying. And we go back to pit road and Marty Snyder.
And Joe Nemechek currently 3rd, Steve, and he said that was just about right on that lap, Joe.
It was definitely a good lap for our whole U.S. Army team. Guys built a new car to come here this weekend, and it's been good in practice. I mean, we've been right there in the top 10 the whole time, and I don't know where I left any time. I mean, I got everything I could go, just a little bit of slipping everywhere. So, you know, stop's good, it goes good, the motor drive's good, the chassis is good. I don't know what else you can do to go faster. Ricky Rudd had a pretty awesome lap, so we'll take it. It'll be a good starting spot.
That's what you crew chiefs always want to hear. I gave you all I got, and I don't know where I could have picked up any more time.
But Larry, back when you think about what these guys are looking for, a 1/10 of a second is a snap of the finger.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Ricky Rudd is quickest at a 1932. Kyle Busch is 12th at a 1962. You can't even think about 3/10 of a second, much less really see it on the racetrack.
It's so hard to do right there. If you take a look here at Robbie Gordon in that 7 car, he came up here and tested, and he loves this racetrack. Again, he's great on the short track, great on short tracks because he's a really fantastic road racer. He knows how to brake on this track and make it work. If he can get his car where it needs to be come Sunday, I think he'll be a force to reckon with.
And he has got to qualify on time. A lot of
those go homers. But yeah, we talked about all the teams that tested. A lot of teams brand new race cars. This is a brand new race car. Joe Nemechek has a brand new race car. We talked to Rusty Wallace, brand new race car. A lot of effort put into the final short track race of 2005.
Just a quick update as Robbie Gordon concludes his laps. He's 17th. Morgan Shepherd in the 89 will not make a qualifying attempt. Whatever the problems were on that race car, they had 5 minutes to get the problems fixed. They were not able to do so.
And remember, Kevin Harvick here in the 29 car, this was a car that was struggling getting through inspection after about the 2nd try on the front tread width being too wide. They finally made it through. And just to follow up, we want to make sure everyone knows why his crew chief was suspended and for 2 weeks. Is basically at Talladega a couple of weeks ago in qualifying, the fuel overflow vent out the left rear tail light came out. They were trying to get air to come out from underneath the car through the trunk. They had to get it out. NASCAR felt like it was an aero advantage, so they took the qualifying run away and suspended Todd Berrier for 2 weeks. But Richard Childress did exactly what he should do. He appealed it, and it was declined.
Guys, right now as we watch Kevin Harvick making his qualifying run, he didn't wasn't very good in practice either, guys. He was like 38th quickest, and watching the car around the racetrack, he's got his hands full. It's been loose up off the corners before he comes to get to the green. And again, Larry, the car just looks like it's not down the racetrack like it needs to be. He's 16th quickest right now.
He's just sliding off the corner. It looked a little better that time there, but yeah, the car's just, the rear wheels aren't down in the ground like they should be digging under acceleration.
Had actually a pretty good run going here in the spring before they had transmission troubles.
Yeah, he slows down quite a bit, so right now Kevin's 16th quickest out of the 23 cars.
4 drivers have bettered Ryan Newman's track record set a year ago. Right now, Ricky Rudd is the quickest. Michael Waltrip will go out soon. Back in Martinsville, he's not in the chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup, but Jeff Gordon will, in fact, be a favorite on this racetrack. 6 wins, 6 poles, 19 top 10s, and over 1,800 laps led.
But we talked about it at the top of the show. He's 6 wins, 6 poles. As I mentioned, 17 top 10 starts in 25 starts. He always starts near the front, and it just helps his whole day of this 500-lap race.
There he is battling with Sterling Marlin in the 40.
What Larry's trying to say, it's just so much easier to pass somebody on pit road or pass them or stay out in front of them by starting up front. I mean, it's just so important when it comes to qualifying here. And this group right here, they've been having it figured out quite a bit in recent years.
Jeff Gordon got one of his 3 wins this season here. Also won at Daytona and Talladega.
Pretty good first lap. 8th quickest, 1957. But now he would have to pick up a good 2.5 tenths to knock Ricky Rudd off the pole right now. But 2005, of course, he won the spring race here. 1954, he goes to 7th quickest. But in his 21 last races in 2005, no top 5 finishes and only 4 top 10 finishes. Last time he got a top 5 was Darlington back in the spring. Who would have ever believed that in this 24 car?
Let's go to Bob Dillner.
2 pros here at Martinsville. One guy that has won 1 time, Kurt Busch, and Rusty Wiles, who has won 7 times here. But Kurt, what'd you think of Jeff Gordon's run? And can you beat his teammate Jimmy Johnson and that Ricky Rudd guy, too?
And there's some fast guys. You know, we ran good with warm tires in practice and then scuffed in our tires and ran a set and just backed up a 10th. So we've got to tighten up the car because it wants to be real loose for qualifying, and then it's tight in race trim. So we'll see if we can hit it right.
If he hits it right, it'd be a good thing for Kurt Busch. He's had some misfortune as of late with this car. It's the same car he won with at Richmond.
But Larry, the good thing about that is this is not an impound race, so they can make those adjustments and not have to worry about it because, hey, buddy, tomorrow morning they can come back in and make whatever adjustments they want to, whether it's a spring, a shock, wedge, whatever it takes. Get qualifying done today and then focus on the race tomorrow.
And I think that's the reason we'll have several cars that will end up breaking that track record that, of course, as you mentioned, Steve, several cars already have.
Set by Ryan Newman a year ago, 1951. Brian Vickers, Bob Dillner talked to him a little while ago. He was top 5 quickest in practice, 8th right now.
And Bob talked about it. His last 14 races, 12 top 15 finishes, 5 consecutive. That's the reason he's moved himself in one of those positions in the dogfight for 11th, because right now he's 15th. But he's only 63 points out of 11th. So we've got quite a dogfight for that lucrative $1 million 11th place in points.
Ricky Rudd in a Ford is the quickest. Another Ford driver, Elliott Sadler, standing by with Bob Dillner.
In the past 3 races, he has started on the front row, but not finished well. So you maybe want to reverse your fortune here or what?
I'd love to reverse our fortune, but it's not because of the way we've been running. I mean, we had an awesome car at Talladega and got taken out. Got taken out again last week at Charlotte with a great car, and really thought we had the car to beat. It's just fun to go run the way we've been running the last few weeks, and I got the best car I've ever had in my life here at Martinsville. It was unbelievable on race runs. That's all we did. So don't know how the M&M4 is going to qualify, but I can't wait till Sunday.
Virginia boy getting better and better at this short track, which he has struggled with in the past.
Thanks, Bob. Elliott Sadler with a pole at Bristol, Indianapolis, the 2nd Talladega race, and most recently at Lowe's Motor Speedway a week ago. Matt Kenseth, one of the 10 drivers in the chase, qualifying now.
Now, he was in good shape getting into turn 1 and through the middle of 1 and 2, but lost a ton of spots, as you can see, on the exit of the corner. It's like he drove it in deep, but he could not get off the corner. First lap, 1987. That's 23rd quickest.
And he pays the price for doing that. And to me, I always expected Matt Kenseth to really run it good at a place like Martinsville, Virginia, because he's so talented as far as a short track racer. Where he comes from up in Wisconsin, he used to win a lot of races on tracks similar to Martinsville.
Well, he's going to pick it up quite a bit because he did get off the corner a little better there on lap 2, so he goes to 16th quickest at a 1964.
We have Ricky Rudd in a Ford, followed by 3 Chevrolet drivers, Jimmy Johnson, Joe Nemechek, and Bobby Labonte. There's another Chevy driver, and he was the quickest in practice earlier today, Tony Stewart.
Tony's time was a 1935, so if he can just pick it up just a little bit from that, he can knock Ricky Rudd off this pole.
Ricky Rudd's time at 1932, and in terms of miles per hour, Ricky Rudd 97.992 miles per hour.
He has a couple of bud poles here. He has a win back in the fall race of 2000.
The car really looks good right now, Larry. Just getting on his warm-up lap, the car looks like it's really hooking up well.
And Jeff, this place is deceptive. I had a driver years ago tell me that he spun out in one of his first Cup races here, and he said, well, this isn't going to be bad. It's just Martinsville. They're still close to 100 miles per hour.
I'll tell you what's going to be good. Look at it right there.
Green, green, green.
I mean, the car gets in good. It rolls through the middle. He's able to mat the thing off the corner. I think this is going to be a Bud pole run on lap 1, 1930. So he goes to the top of the charts with the 20 car.
2 100ths quicker than Ricky Rudd on his first lap.
A lot of times you can watch a car when it's coming up to get the green and get some kind of feel for it. This car was really under control to me whenever he was coming to get the green. Very strong run right there.
Slows down a little bit, but boy, the first lap was good enough.
Tony Stewart trying to take his 3rd pole here on the half mile of Martinsville Speedway. Coming up tomorrow on Speed, Nextel Cup final practice and Busch Pole qualifying. Up first at 11 a.m., they'll get ready for some old school racing that's all about horsepower. Nextel Cup final practice from Martinsville. Then at noon, Busch Pole qualifying live from Memphis. Last year, Martin Truex Jr. won the pole and the race. A repeat performance could mean a repeat champion. Catch Nextel Cup final practice followed by Busch Pole qualifying. Get it tomorrow at 11, only on Speed.
Jamie McMurray in the 42 car here. Now, earlier today, he was not that good in practice. His first lap does not look like it's going to be a real good lap. 1978. It's about 2/10 off of what he ran in practice. He ran a 59 a little earlier today.
Hard in that rev limiter, but watching him, the car, it looks like it's not hooking up at all. When he gets back in the throttle, come up off the corner, nowhere near as smooth as what the 20 car of Tony Stewart was.
Let's go back to Bob Dillner.
Well, Steve, you know, Denny Hamlin qualified in the top 10 in his first ever Cup race. Last week in his second one, he finished there. So this week, you should be able to knock your teammate off the provisional pole, right?
Ooh, that'd be a tough task. Tony laid down an awesome lap. With the FedEx Freight, Chevrolet's pretty good. If we can just back up where we were in practice, it'll put us 5th right now. So we tested here, had a pretty good test, and I'd like to pick up a little bit, but I'll be happy with backing up what I ran.
And he does have a lot of experience here, Marty, finishing 3rd in last year's Bailey's 300 for the late model stock cars.
And Tony Stewart, his teammate, currently fastest and very smooth-looking lap, Smoke.
Yeah, the car's been driving good all day. We spent the first hour in race trim and was really happy with the way it drove there. And Home Depot Monte Carlo is pretty fast in qualifying trim, too. So really looking forward to running tomorrow.
And here in the spring, you probably had the best car in the race and had that fluke thing happen with the right front.
Well, Jeff Gordon had a really good car, too, but we were, by far, the 2 of us were the class of the field there, and just had a problem with the right front coming off, and I guarantee you that will not happen here. We'll be on 4 tires the whole race Sunday.
Tony led 247 laps here in April.
Don't you love these PR guys? For so many years, they were slapping the hat on top of the guy. Now they got to where they were taking big drinks of their soft drink. Now it's the old towel on the shoulder trick.
How about the pole sitter from the spring here, Scott Riggs?
Scott Riggs, that's Herbie.
Herbie the Love
Bug right there. His little 53 right there, the racing stripes and everything. That's Herbie.
From the movie Fully Loaded that's out now. Scott's going to end up 18th quickest. He slowed down just a little bit on lap 2.
So Tony Stewart's time of 19.306 seconds.
And Jeff, you were talking earlier about these cars getting into that rev limiter that starts killing cylinders when it gets to a certain RPM. These guys, it's the lowest gear that we pull on the circuit here at Martinsville. 650 is what these cars. And what's the relationship? Last week at Lowe's Motor Speedway, next week at Atlanta, it'll be in the high threes, like a 389, 391, 380. So, I mean, you pull in a real low gear, but it's not sustained RPMs. It's RPM that just goes up there and spikes, and then it falls right back down. Not that hard on engines.
But spikes at about 9,800 RPM.
Or whatever the rev limiter chip is.
Whatever the rev limiter chip is.
Derek Cope is in the 08 car this week.
Derek was 44th quickest earlier today in 1992. This will be one of the go-or-go-home cars. What Derek can do here on lap 1 in the 08 car. 1979, that puts him 27th quickest. Right now, Mike Wallace here, see just no forward bite off the corner, so we pretty much know he's going to slow down on lap 2. So 1979 going to be a little borderline. That should lock Mike Wallace into this show in the 4 car.
So again, just to recap, Morgan Shepherd will not make a qualifying attempt. That's Chad Chaffin in the 92. Started this season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Again, you see Chad Chaffin coming up off the pit road, spinning those rear tires, working the car around. Again, trying to get some heat in these tires so they can grip as much as possible so he can get a really good lap in here and make this race.
He will be one of the go-or-go-home cars, and he was 42nd quickest in practice earlier today in a 1986.
Like a little wiggle coming off to that lap, Larry.
And that's just a product of cold tires. Cold rear tires are just not biting the concrete and only the asphalt when they have no heat in them. He's just taking the green flag now, and you can see he made a lot of ground up getting in the corner to the middle, as we've seen a lot of cars, but then you pay the price on the exit of the corner back on the straightaway.
Watching him go down in the corner, Larry did the same thing going to 3 and 4, really drove it in deep, gained some time back, and also gave every bit of that back plus some on his exit.
1992, Chad needs to pick it up a couple of tenths if he wants to race here on Sunday.
Watch him do it again. He's 29th going down in the corner. All of a sudden he drives it off in there. So he can pick it back up a little bit here at all, but it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it, Larry.
Actually slows down quite a bit.
So 30 drivers have qualified here at the Martinsville Speedway. Looking ahead, Rusty Wallace is headed your way.
Welcome back to the paperclip, Martinsville Speedway. Qualifying today for the Nextel Cup Series, Jeremy Mayfield. Evernham Motorsports owns the final 2 cars pretty much to go out here in qualifying. How good is your car?
Our Dodge JW Dodge is real good and pretty good in practice. Let's see what happens in qualifying. It always changes a little bit here, but it looks like today the conditions are good and we should be in good shape.
Good conditions today. Nice and cool today, overcast. But Jeremy Mayfield and Casey Keene hoping for some good runs here today.
And there's a hot rod on the racetrack now, Bob Dillner. Rusty Wallace in that number 2 Miller Lite Dodge.
Got his last win here, spring of last year, 2004. Brand new car, untested. Broke it out for the first time about 11:20 Eastern time this morning when the track opened for practice. It's going to be a good lap for Rusty if he can get off the corner. Lost it just a little bit, but it's going to be real close here on lap 1. 1933, that will put him right now 3rd quickest.
3 poles, 7 wins, and over 3,600 laps led on this racetrack.
Jeff, it's almost like he's losing ground late exit. Not when he picks the throttle up, but just as he makes the transition onto the straightaway off the corner.
Just that little bit is what we're talking about, Larry. Has 2 really good laps, but slows down just that little bit on his 2nd lap. But so far, good enough for 3rd. I think he's going to be pretty happy with that.
I'd say he'll be real happy.
Breaks the track record, but Tony Stewart is the quickest.
And Larry, I don't know about you, but when you start watching guys, you wind up looking at Tony Stewart right now, who is first, and you got Ricky Rudd on the outside pole, and Rusty Wallace is third. And if I can't be on the pole, my friend, I'd love to be starting this race third. I don't know about you. Down on the inside?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
I want to be on the inside, so when you start looking at guys like Rusty Wallace and Joe Nemechek, that's where they want to stay, up toward the front, but on the inside if at all possible.
This guy here, Kurt Busch, in the 97 car, there was a lot of teams that benefited from Tony Stewart's problems last week, but to me, this is the guy that really benefited because before Lowe's, he was a full race out of the lead. Now he's 142 points out after finishing second and Tony Stewart having his problems.
Picked up 85 points last week at Lowe's. Huge, huge pickup.
It's going to be a pretty respectable lap one for Kurt in the 97 car. Completes lap 1, 1954. That'll put him 9th quickest on lap 1 with 1 to go. Kurt was 15th quickest earlier today at a 1953, so that's about what he ran in practice, and right now it looks like this second lap will not be as good as lap 1. It's going to be close, but I don't think it'll be as good 1956.
Kurt has a win on this racetrack, and we go to Marty Snyder.
And Rusty Wallace climbs out of the car, third fastest, as you guys told us. And Larry Mack and the guys saying, looks like late exit was hurting you just a little bit.
Late exit, Larry's probably right there. I'd had a feathered a little bit more on 1 or 2 up off of turn 4. Entry into 1 was perfect. Exit off of 2 was perfect. Spinning the tires just a little bit. I'm glad I put that extra round of wedge in there.
Yeah, but the good point is you're starting on the inside so far, if you can stay there.
Yeah, that's good right now. We run a 33, and in practice we run a 40, so we picked it up from practice. That's good. I'm proud of the guys.
All right, now his teammate on the track.
Ryan Newman was just a hair slower than Tony Stewart in practice, Marty Snyder.
This team has been so solid here in these final 10 chase races. Top 10 finishes in 4 of the 5. The only bobble was at Kansas a couple of weeks ago. 7 Martinsville starts, all top 10 starts, including 2 butt poles. He was a lot like Davey Allison. He finally figured out that I have to have brakes for all 500 laps of this thing. We'll talk to Ryan a little bit about that on trackside later on tonight.
He's got a good lap here going, guys. 1934 on his first lap. Looked like he got into the corner just a little bit aggressive. Larry gave up just a little bit of time on exit, but pretty smooth, pretty smooth.
Right now, he's right there with his teammate, Rusty Wallace, in the 2, who's 3rd quickest. See if he can pick it up on lap 2. Actually slows down almost a 10.5, so right now Ryan will be 4th quickest.
So Tony Stewart is still the pole sitter. 33 drivers have qualified here in Martinsville. We'll be back for more right after this. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Budpole qualifying for the Martinsville Speedway is brought to you by LA Rush. Pimped out, juiced up, flying high. Larry Mack's looking at me.
You get into this thing, aren't you, buddy?
By High Endurance Oils for Mobile, official lubricants of NASCAR, and by Aqua Velva. Aqua Velva keeps your face toned and fit. There's something about an Aqua Velva man.
I still say it sounds like a profile of Jeff Hammond.
That's it. Pimped out, juiced up, flying high.
Hey, baby.
Whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes right now. I'm not going to dodge it this week. We're going to be talking about the fact that it sounds good to be doing all that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it
absolutely.
Does. Somebody's pretty cool. I'm a fan of yours, I might say, Mr. Burns.
Sterling, yeah.
Sterling. Yeah, he likes to talk about Tennessee football with you.
He's going to be talking a lot about it tomorrow when the Crimson Tide gets a hold of
heads
him.
Up. Larry Mack's team.
Yes, sir. The boys are back in town. Sterling Marlin came up here and tested in this 40 car. Let's see what he can do. Lap 1, 1978. Puts him 30th quickest. He picks it up a little bit, but after testing, I'm not sure he'll be real happy with that qualifying run.
He's not going to be very happy with that because he told me he was going after a grandfather clock this weekend.
Got a little work to do.
Bob Dillner standing by with Mike Waltrip.
Yeah, Michael Waltrip is at the right racetrack, but he's still without his car as the Napa boys continue to prepare that backup car. Michael, tell me about it.
Well, we had a bad practice and just got a little bit loose off turn 2, and out of frustration probably stayed in the gas a little bit longer than I should have and spun out. So I thought I would save it, but I just was having a real frustrating time with it, and I got more aggressive than I should have. So the boys do a good job. Tony and them, they got out a new Napa Chevy. I think that other one was bent or something. I think I must have bent it somewhere else because it sure didn't act right.
Now, crew chiefs, that's a typical racer making excuses, right?
Well, I do know that I think was maybe one of the new DEI chassis, new front snouts that they were experimenting with, and maybe they've still got a little more work to do on that thing.
Definitely a little more work to do on it now, Larry. But Michael will make the best of a bad situation, and the guy who always makes the best of any kind of situation, Elliott Sadler's on the racetrack right now, and after his first lap, he's 7th quickest.
And Larry Mack, you talked about the drivers battling for that 11th position of points that pays $1 million. Right now, he's got it.
Yes, sir. I'm telling you, these boys, and they've got qualifying down. This will be the 5th race for his new crew chief, Kevin Buskirk. Kevin doing a good job with Elliott.
Doing a real good job, but she got a little bit loose right there under throttle coming up off of turn 4 right now. He is 7th quickest right now, and maybe what he needs, guys, is a bologna burger to kind of get everything settled back in place.
Maybe he needs to go over and talk to, what do you think, Ryan Newman?
I agree.
Advice from Ryan Newman when you're qualifying is always a good thing. You said your car just a little too tight off 4. Is that the case, Ryan?
Yeah, second lap it was, yeah, the time lap there. But just a good run for the Alto Dodge. Wish we could have been faster. So close here at Martinsville, but good run for us to be in the top 5 at least as of right now. And look forward to the race. The same car we had here in the spring, and had a top 5 then. Definitely need a top 5 this time too.
In fact, he's got a string of top 5 finishes here at Martinsville. I believe it would be 4 straight top 5 finishes here at this racetrack.
You'd be exactly right, my friend. And his consistency up here is going to be important because he's been very consistent so far in the points race also. So, I mean, he needs to keep that up so he can keep it tight. And maybe even if he has a really good race on Sunday, he can maybe take over the point lead. Only 17 points out.
Tight battle right there. Got Carl Long here in a 00 car, one of the go-or-go-home cars we need to mention of the go-or-go-home cars. I think we'd already talked about Mike Wallace in the 4 car, Robbie Gordon in the 7. Both those guys, they are locked into the show for Sunday. See what Carl can do here on lap 1 at a 20.26. He needs to pick it up about a half a second. Oh. It's not going to happen that way right there.
Hang on to it, brother.
Because now those tires, not only did he get completely sideways, they've picked up all of the rubber debris on the tires, so pretty much you just write this lap off, and I think that will send Carl Long in the 00 to the house, but it should lock Derek Cope into the show.
Carl Long, the 36th driver to take time here on the half mile. Tony Stewart is the quickest. Stewart breaking the track record set by Ryan Newman a year ago.
And Larry, I believe right now when we talk about Derek Cope, he is Carl Long's teammate this weekend.
Yep. And you know what I like about this half-mile racetrack is when we get into that race on Sunday, it's not really about aero. I know they're running over 100 miles an hour here, as you see Michael Waltrip. This is the backup car he's been waiting on. But it's not necessarily, even when you get into that race, about power, because it's hard just to put the throttle down off the corner and stay in. It's about handling, and most importantly, no mistakes and good strategy on that pit road by these crews and those crew chiefs.
Larry Mack, Mike Garvey is in the 75. He's had some good qualifying efforts in the 66 car, but as you noted, Hermie Sadler back in that car again this week.
Mike was 47th quickest in practice, another one of the go-or-go-home cars, so Hermie Sadler will actually be watching this qualifying run pretty close because right now he's on the bubble to try to get locked into this show. But Mike has definitely turned out to be a pretty good little qualifier. When the chips are down, you've got to go get it on qualifying.
He has, in fact, and remember, top 35 in owner points locked into the show.
2041, that's got a lot of work to do right there. In fact, he needs to pick up a good 5 or 6 tenths to even get close to being in this race on Sunday.
And the car didn't look that bad to me, Larry. That's the thing. It's a lot of times when you see a guy lose that kind of speed, you kind of see the car either not gripping the racetrack or him having a hard time keeping it at the bottom. The car looked pretty smooth.
Yeah, he slows down on lap 2. I'm quite sure that will not get in this show, but it'll bump Hermie Sadler, the 66, into the show.
Bob Dillner is with Casey Kane.
Casey Kane finished second here in the springtime, but Casey, some impressive times being put forth by a bunch of guys here. How are you going to match up today?
Hopefully we'll get our Dodge dealers, UAW Dodge, up in there somewhere. We weren't the fastest in practice and qualifying trim, but we made some changes, and I think it'll help. We'll see what happens. This is a tough track to qualify on. It has been for me anyways, so we'll see if we can't get it up there a little bit.
Larry Mack, Jeff Hammond, this is one of the guys that is getting better and better on these type of short tracks.
I guarantee you he is. He is definitely getting better. And a lot of times it's just a matter, again, of getting that experience with these high horsepower race cars, and the fact that, you know, this is a very tricky racetrack and the competition is so good.
Tell you what, you talk about getting better and better. This race team right here, Casey Mears in his 41 car, Jimmy Elledge finished 6th at Lowe's. They just keep churning out these good finishes now. They've been running good for a long time. Now they finally have the finishes to go along with the run.
They're putting a period on it, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Mears has 7 top 10 finishes this season. Comes to Martinsville 24th in points.
We get a little first lap right here by Casey.
They came up here and tested 1955, first lap, 13th quickest.
Larry Mack, there's a log jam in the 50s right now, my friend.
Yeah, you can run in the low 50s and right now be in the top 10. You can run in the high 50s and just barely be in the top 20 right now.
Really hard in that rev limiter right there as he came back down into turn 1.
He'll slow down a little bit on lap 2.
Tony Stewart still the quickest here on the half-mile Martinsville Speedway. More Bud Pole qualifying ahead on speed. Take control of America's fastest sport with speed. NASCAR TV on demand, including NASCAR Race Rewinds, NASCAR Victory Lane, and NASCAR Beyond the Wheel. Updated every week and totally free. Check with your local cable provider for speed NASCAR TV on demand now.
Tell you what, we talk about racetracks that suit drivers. This is Bobby Hamilton Sr. now in this 09 car. Johnny Sauter, of course, over in Memphis for the Busch race. Bobby was 14th quickest in practice. Not a great first lap, 1988. This is a go-or-go-home car, Jeff. He's got some work to do getting off turn 4 here.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, I really expected Bobby to be a lot quicker than that. I've worked with him before. He's won here at Martinsville, driving for the Petties one time, picks it up a little bit on his second lap, goes to 1978, which helps him get into the show. But at the same time, I thought he'd been further up there yet because he is a very good short track racer.
I also remember him leading a lot of laps here a few years ago in the spring, driving that 55 car for Andy Petrie.
Yes, he did. I mean, he's a great short track racer and does a really good job, and I'm not surprised to see him having him in the 09 car up here because, again, the Craftsman truck races are running here in companion with the cup races this weekend. He's a good choice.
But he did lose about 2.5 tenths from what he practiced.
Denny Hamlin, the youngster from Virginia, Chesterfield, had a nice run at Lowe's Motor Speedway last week.
Great run, finished 8th, and I tell you, his crew, they were all smiles, I think, over 2 reasons. Is the fact of that good run he had, and as we spoke to him earlier, he has really ran well here, making his first Nextel Cup start, but in the late models here at Martinsville.
Guys, he's given this team right here their best qualifying effort, which I know he crashed in the second lap, but he was 7th at that one time, and then like last week at Lowe's, their best finish of the season with an 8th.
I tell you what, this is going to be a great run for Denny Hamlin in this 11 car, and this is lap 1, 1935. That will put him 5th quickest right now.
Well, he said in his interview, all he needed to do was basically back up what he did in practice, and he'd be up here close to the top of the deal, and he's done that.
And Denny Hamlin, as well as Carl Edwards, will be doing double duty this weekend. As Carl's been doing it all year, they'll be going back and forth between Martinsville and Memphis, Tennessee.
Great run by young Denny Hamlin in that number 11 car. He's 5th fastest. His teammate, Tony Stewart, in the 20 car, he's on the pole. Stanton Barrett in the number 95 here at Martinsville. As Bud Pole qualifying continues. All 3 Joe Gibbs drivers in the top 9. Tony Stewart on the pole. Denny Hamlin just qualified 5th. Bobby Labonte 9th.
All those Gibb cars up there.
And the Penske teammates, Rusty Wallace and Ryan Newman right now, 3rd and 4th, and both will be with us on trackside tonight.
Be an interesting show, absolutely. Stanton Barrett on lap 1, 38th quickest. It's not quite good enough to get in this show right now. Chad Chafin in the 92 car watching this second lap because this could lock him into the show unless Stanton Barrett picks it up on lap 2.
He ran quick enough to practice. If he just back up what he did in practice, he can move himself up into this race, and he does pick it up a little bit to 1989, Larry.
But that will lock him into the show.
That's all he needed to know.
Good enough.
And there it Stewart is officially trackside tonight, live at 7 p.m. Eastern. Jeff Hammond, Larry McReynolds. I'll be there with Rusty Wallace. What a star-studded lineup we have. Jeff Gordon, Ryan Newman, some guy named Waltrip, who's won here 11 times.
And my people tell me that Mr. Waltrip's got a little settling up to do tonight on that trackside show.
That's right. He's in arrears, as they say, with David Rudiman.
He's been in arrears with you for a number of years, hasn't he, Jeff?
Let's don't even go there. Let's don't even
Kind of painful, isn't it, Larry? You see, it's like picking open a scab.
No. You got to understand right now. There's what they say is that this water under the bridge. Oh. Well, unfortunately, the bridge is still underwater.
You know, I read your book, Real Men Work in the Pits, and I was reminded you and DW have had a love-hate relationship.
I prefer to call it a hate-love relationship. Man, I love DW. I can't say that really bad about him. Not on the air.
No.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. not that good in practice. He was only 41st quickest, but that will be good enough to lock him into this show in this tied car, the 32 car, 38th quickest right now. Not sure this lap is going to be, I believe it's actually probably going to be a little bit slower. He slows down to 20:09, but that 1991 will get him in.
It's hard to believe that they're that close. They have to race their way in, have to qualify their way in with that 32 car.
Well, Bob Dillner, how about that young Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, how about the Gibbs bunch here? Like you guys mentioned, very good qualifying efforts and a great qualifying effort for you. Did you leave anything on the table?
I don't think so. I mean, I just drove two laps just as smooth as I could possibly do, and I'm excited. I would love to stay in the top 5 this time. Last week, we got knocked out of the top 5 on the last lap. Hopefully, we won't do it on the last car today, so I'm excited. Second top 10 start, I think, in the 3 races. Just happy for this bunch right here, all the FedEx guys. They've had a tough year, a lot of bad luck. Hopefully we can get this all turned around.
A lot of top high fives down here when Denny came in and climbed out of that car. This bunch is happy.
I love that guy. I tell you, he's a great race car driver. He's a great guy, and trust me, we're going to see him in victory lane a lot in our sport.
One of the guys told me that during the final laps of that race, Denny called J.D. Gibbs, who's Joe Gibbs' son, and asked him, said, hey, do I get a bonus for finishing in the top 10? J.D. called him back and said, whatever bonus you get is going to go toward repairing your 20 Busch car Saturday, Friday night.
Yeah, he's not afraid to stand on the gas.
Oh, no, he's not afraid at all.
Now, Michael Waltrip making these first laps in this backup car after crashing in practice earlier. First lap, 40th quickest. Looks like he's going to pick it up a little bit on lap 2 to a 1985 36 quickest for Michael in the 15 car. So he's looking forward to those 2 practice sessions in the morning.
And Larry Mack, I want to note the 61 of Wayne Anderson has withdrawn his entry. Bud Pole qualifying wrapping up after this here on Speed. Jimmy Spencer was supposed to be on the racetrack right now in the 37 car. He had problems getting it started. So Jeff Green in the 43 car. Y'all didn't see Jeff hanging around the 0 car, did you?
They're parked beside each other.
Yeah.
So he had no choice.
He was in the vicinity.
More on that story to follow.
Yeah, it's like you said, you got to pay attention.
That's it.
Stay with us.
Don't cost a thing to pay attention.
Nope.
Just stay tuned to Speed. Tell you what, good lap, though, for Jeff Green on lap 1, 1949, 10th quickest. I know he was 9th quickest in practice. They came up here and tested. This is the same car he qualified 10th and finished 7th with a year ago. So if he can pick it up just a little bit, he's going to be right at the front of this pack.
Jeff's best start here in Martinsville in 10 attempts is 6th.
Now, he ran exactly the same time as Bobby Labonte in the 18 car. The tiebreaker is who is the highest in owner points. The 18 car is a little bit higher. So right now, Bobby Labonte, 9th, Jeff Green, 10th.
Casey Kane in that number 9 Dodge for Ray Evernham. Got his first win earlier this year at Richmond.
Another short track. Casey was 33rd quickest earlier today at a 1976. Even though he finished 2nd here, his best start at Martinsville in 3 starts is 15th. But this is the same car that finished 2nd here in the spring race.
Well, with 3 cars to go, Tony Stewart will be watching pretty intently to see whether or not his time is going to hold up. And right now, I'd say it's looking pretty good.
And And this is one of those teams, you know, of course, they're not in the chase for the Nextel Cup. They're almost out of the running for 11th. They're back in 21st. They're locked in, I think, in the top 35. So the biggest thing they're trying to do is just win some more races and make sure they get their arms around their program headed to 2006.
Casey Kane's first lap, good enough only for 37th.
A half a second slower than Tony Stewart, and right now he's 37th.
He's lost about a tenth of what he had practiced at earlier.
Real slow through the middle of the corner, Jeff. The car's just not really rotating and taking a good set.
He does pick it up on the second lap, but there moves it to 33rd. I don't think he's going to be real happy with that.
Oh, no.
Tony Stewart trying to win his third pole of his 2005 season. We'll be right back to see if he can hang on. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Bud Bowl qualifying for the Martinsville Speedway is brought to you by High Endurance Oils from Mobil, official lubricants of NASCAR.
Here's another car after a respectable run last week at Lowe's, finished in 11th. Jeremy Mayfield in the 19th car. Now he's back in the hunt, sitting 8th in the points, but only 115 points out. And he was actually pretty good in practice earlier, too, Jeff, was 7th quickest.
7th quickest right now. I'm sure he just loved to go out there and put down about that same time. Give him a good top 10 starting position right now.
Lost a little ground on late exit of turn 4, 1948. That will put him right now 11th quickest. So if he can pick up a 10th, it'll put him close to the top 5.
Right off of turn 2, looking pretty good. Rotated through 1 and 2, really good. Let's see what he does here off turn 4.
It's like he picked the throttle up quick, but he lost a little ground late exit like we've seen several cars, but he picks it up to 7th quickest with his 19 car.
Good effort by Jeremy Mayfield in that number 19 for Evernham Motorsports. Jimmy Spencer will be the last driver to qualify in the number 37.
Now, there'll be 2 cars watching this qualifying run. Tony Stewart, who right now is on the Bud pole, but Chad Chaffin in the 92 car, because it will be between Chad and Jimmy Spencer in the 37 car who will get one of these spots of the go-or-go homers. We know right now that Joey McCarthy, Carl Long, Mike Garvey, Morgan Shepherd, and we already talked about Wayne Anderson, who withdrew. They will not make this show on Sunday. Talked about the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. There'll be companion events, the final 5 races of their season with the Nextel Cup cars. Mike Skinner is going to be in this car for the final 4 races starting next week at Atlanta. It's just a 1-race deal with Jimmy Spencer, and he's got some serious work to do, Jeff. As he comes to complete lap 1, it's not going to be good enough to get him in. He's going to have to pick it up from there. 40th quickest for Jimmy, 1987.
That will take care of him. And that puts Chad Chaffin out of the race right there.
Because right now this lap does not look a whole lot better. So it looks like Jimmy Spencer probably will not make this show. No, he jumps it up there. Yeah, Jimmy jumps it up to 40th quickest in the 37 car. So he's in. Chad Chaffin in the 92 car will not make this race.
Well, that means Tony Stewart takes his 3rd pole position of 2005. We'll talk to the pole sitter for Sunday's Subway 500 after these messages here on Speed. Bud Bowl qualifying is over. Let's take a look at the Verizon fastest lap. It was turned in by Tony Stewart.
Pretty much backed up what he did in practice.
The car just very smooth. He did a really good job of letting the car roll off down in the corner, Larry, and then getting right back in that throttle and keeping it on the bottom of the racetrack.
It rotated through the middle of the corner. When that car does that, there's no beating it.
So 11 drivers beat the track record set by Ryan Newman a year ago. For Tony Stewart, his 3rd pole of 2005 and 3rd pole here at Martinsville, Marty.
And you guys talk about smooth. It's been a smooth weekend or a smooth day so far for Tony Stewart and a good lap. How critical, though, is it to start up front here at Martinsville, Tony?
Well, you know, probably the biggest advantage to being on the pole is not so much a starting position, but a good pit selection. So that's real important here. You know, if you got a good car, you can get to the front, but, you know, if you get blocked in the pits, that's sometimes hard to overcome. So, you know, it's just a
perfect way to start the weekend so far.
Talking about rain for tomorrow, so how much race practice did you get in today?
We got the first hour in of our 2-hour session. We did all race runs. So, you know, we were really good here in the spring on 4 tires. As long as we kept 4 tires on it, the car was fast. So we're just trying to you know, take that setup, and it's a lot cooler this time around. So just making the adjustments that we needed to do to get it balanced back. So pretty confident we got a good race car.
Tony's one Martinsville win came when he started on the pole here, October of 2000. Steve?
Now, Tony Stewart talked about pit selection. Here's where Tony Stewart will pick. And all he has to do is move from here to win the battle off pit road under every caution. And trust me, every pit stop will probably be under caution unless you have a problem.
Tony Stewart will try to become the 18th different driver to win from the pole here at the half-mile Martinsville Speedway, a racetrack that opened in 1949 for Cup competition.
I tell you what, though, I'd keep a close watch at that man on the inside of row 2. His final last call at Martinsville, Virginia. He'd love to get back to victory lane here.
He'd love to get back to victory lane, but also in the top 10, we got 5 of our chasers up there competing for this championship, starting up toward the front.
A little further back, you see 2 more chasers. Kurt Busch in row 7, Carl Edwards in row 9.
And the 2 Petty cars up there in row 6 and row 7, Jeff Green and Kyle Petty.
But don't forget that 24 car, Jeff Gordon. He'll be coming toward the front.
6-time winner here on the half mile. Roush teammates also in the chase, Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth.
Mark Martin, he's got some work to do. From back there on row 18, back in the 35th starting spot.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 32 car is the last driver to make this show. Carl Long, Joey McCarthy, Wayne Anderson, Mike Garvey, Morgan Shepherd, and Chad Chaffin did not make the field.
All 5 Roush cars qualified out of the top 10.
For Larry McReynolds, Jeff Hammond, Marty Snyder, and Bob Diller, I'm Steve Burns. Thanks for being with us here in Martinsville.